Now on the backstory, if you've ever found yourself questioning the stories we were raised on, the ones where Prince rides in to save the day, remember those? Our next guest is here to flip that fairy tale on its head. Deb Miller is a local author whose book and memoir, Forget the Fairy Tale and Find Your Happiness, reimagines the narrative women are often sold. Tyra's down in the Arc Lounge with Deb right now to talk about that brand new book. Hi, ladies.
Hi, Steve. I love the title of your book, first and foremost. Thank you so much, Deb, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I wrote Forget the Fairy Tale and Find Your Happiness to inspire women so that they can feel permission to go write their own happy endings instead of letting society dictate that to them.
So let's talk more about that. Forget the fairy tale. I mean, that just challenges all the classic narratives we grew up with. You know, I think about, for instance, like the Disney movies that we would watch. Why should we be dictating our own narrative?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Disney had to rebrand the franchise because society was changing their expectations for women.
Wow.
There used to be Snow White and Cinderella, and then Disney woke up, as did television. You know, we had Mary Tyler Moore came on, and then Claire Huxtable. And so women were changing after the women's movement, and Disney had to update. Then we got Ariel and Belle. They still had a prince, though, in the picture, or a guy to help save the day. It wasn't until, I think, Merida came along, the one set in Scotland, where she saved the day.
Yes, that's right. The movie Brave. That's so interesting. And yes, the representation of people like Mary Tyler Moore, Claire Huxtable, that show, you know, women can be bosses on their own without a prince.
Exactly. And so that's why I ended up using the Disney princess transformation as a metaphor for my own transformation. I looked back and I had gone from kind of a damsel in distress into a woman who really found her own voice and was writing her own happy ending. And I thought, I think this is something that a lot of women can connect with.
So what does that look like? You mentioned you made this sort of life transition for yourself. You talk about finding your happiness. What did that look like for you?
Well, you know, I started out as a Midwest housewife, and I thought I would be living my mom's fairy tale, which was like June Cleaver. I mean, my mom actually did vacuum wearing a dress with pearls. And I thought, this is what, you know, I'm supposed to do when I get older. But I did learn, I tell people when they ask me about the book, I say, imagine if Cinderella realized that Prince Charming wasn't going to get her to happily ever after. So she had to get on her own white horse, strap in the kids safely behind her, and figure out how to get there. And for me, it started with tennis. I followed my passion. That led me to host some Russians, of all things, for a tennis exchange back in 1990.
Wow.
And some of the kids were only 9 years old, and Anna Kournikova was one of them, came over from Russia.
That's
and so
fantastic.
That led to me going to Russia later, and then it led me moving from accounting as a career into a global marketing, and I became an executive. So all these things happened because I was willing to say yes when opportunities arrived.
Saying yes, that's fantastic. So you found a hobby, you traveled somewhere new, all those things led up to this. You mentioned something interesting about your mother vacuuming in the dress and the pearls. And I don't know if you've been on TikTok, there's a trend right now called like the trad wife, traditional wife. For people who aspire to have that traditional, let's say, fairy tale life, but also want to be their own person. Is there some sort of balance there that they could strike? Okay.
I think the key is, the takeaway from the book really is that each woman, or each person, I have a son too, so each person needs to craft their own fairy tale. It does not, there's not one glass slipper, not one size fit all. Everybody needs to find their own way. And that's how you find happiness.
That's good advice. So the book comes out tomorrow. Perfect timing here. You have launch events, you have panels coming up, and places ranging from breweries to theaters. What made you want to involve local voices? Well,
really, word of mouth is the best way to get out information about your book. And I'm a marketing professor, used to be a marketing executive, so I love to have interaction with people. And so the pub day at the pub is at Postdoc Brewery in Redmond. I'm a member of the pub, and it's just going to be a fun event, and a lot of different people are coming. And then on Saturday at Barnes & Noble at 1 o'clock, we're going to have actresses perform a couple of the scenes.
Wow.
I saw a rehearsal the other day. There are two talented young actresses from East Side Catholic who starred in Mamma Mia, and they're just fabulous. And it's so weird to see yourself they're portraying you along with, in one case, my daughter, or a sorority sister in another one. It's just super fun. And then I've got an event in Paulsbo coming up in a couple weeks. There's a panel on happiness in the fall with a couple of UW professors. So we're looking at the science of happiness, and that's at Third Place Books.
Oh my goodness, there's a whole calendar, there's a whole lineup. It's going to be a busy summer. I love the idea of the interactiveness of having actors act out the pages on your book. That's such a brilliant idea. Where can people purchase a copy? I imagine some of those bookstores you mentioned.
You know, it's distributed by Simon & Schuster.
Okay,
so the book is available everywhere books are sold. There's even an audio version, so you can get it from your favorite indie, you can get it from Amazon, and everybody in between.
Fabulous. Well, congratulations again. I love the message of this book, and I'm looking forward to reading it as well. That's great.
I think the real takeaway for people is that the point isn't about finding a prince, it's about finding yourself, and that's a really happy ending.
It's something everybody should aspire to do, right? To find themselves, Steve. How incredible.
What a great message.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to benefit from that. Thank you.